everybody, welcome back. This is interview number 2, and I thought this time, rather than doing a regional sales manager, we would interview a business development manager, and that business development manager that I thought would be most interesting, at least for our first guest, is Tmiller. Say hello to everybody, Ty.
How you doing, everybody? Thanks for having me, Phil. I'm honored to be on the Phil podcast series here.
Well, I am honored that you would make the time, sir. All the way from Rhode Island, which I always say is neither a road nor an island. What's life like right now in the state of Rhode Island?
I think it's pretty similar to some of the other states in the Northeast, with the exception of New Jersey and New York, which are obviously a little bit different landscape. But we're all in lockdown. We're all working from home. We're trying to stay safe and hunker down.
Well, that's pretty much all you can do at this point, which is why we have time to do stuff like this. So
that's right.
I appreciate you making that time. Ty, you're a father. How many you got?
We got 2. I've got a 2-year-old boy named Trey and an 8-month-old daughter named Liv. So it's been awesome. Haven't slept in about 2 years though.
Sleep? What's that? Oh man, you're lucky insofar as the timing of this thing. At least you don't have to deal with homeschool, because that's what true. I'm dealing with right now. And
very true.
Not super fun. But a necessary thing to do. They gotta keep those brains moving. That's it.
You're learning skill at the same time.
There you go. Maybe I'll do a teacher podcast later. Who knows? So let's dive in, because I'd like people to get to know you a little bit better. So a business development manager for Genetec kind of has a much larger territory and a very different mandate than the regional sales manager. So I want to get into that as well, because you're based out of Rhode Island. You're constantly traveling, so I'd be curious to get your perspective just on the world in general. But before we go there, I want to go to the beginning. And one of my favorite things to ask anybody in this industry is like, how the hell did you get here? Because everybody's origin story is a little bit different, but also very much the same. Like, nobody planned on being in the video surveillance or security industry in any way, shape, or form. I know that you went to college, like Matt, for something completely different. So let's start there. What did you go to college for?
Well, just like everyone in the security industry, I went to school and got a degree in security technology.
Oh, yeah, just like me.
Parlayed that right into a career in security. No, it's like you said, it's the exact opposite. Just like everyone in this industry, I actually went to school at Penn State University and got a degree in industrial engineering. I was one of those kids that was decent in math and science in high school. So logically, you should be an engineer,
absolutely.
Right? I found out about 4.5 years into a 5-year program that I didn't want to be an engineer. So it was a little too late. Yeah. So I still, I went through with it. I got the degree, and I had always liked working with people. That's sort of the reason why I chose industrial engineering, because industrial engineering is all about the movement and the flow of people and goods throughout pretty much any industry or organization. It's all about optimizing systems and making things, if you really want to simplify it down, making things better, faster, and less expensive. All about improving everyday operations, right? So
sounds very similar to the Genetec mission statement, Ty.
Yeah, actually, that's just the way that my brain is tuned. So it's a very similar talk track to what we have. So, it's a pretty natural adoption for me of our protect the everyday talk track.
Yeah, there you go. So industrial engineering, like, what did you actually want to be?
Yeah, that's a pretty common joke actually in the engineering community, is they call IEs imaginary engineers. I didn't really know exactly what that looked like when I was in college. And, I had a few internships where I was working in manufacturing plants. But like I said, I wanted to work with people. I really enjoy working with people and talking to people on a daily basis. So I think sales was sort of a natural, path for me to progress down. And, there was actually a career fair at Penn State. So I was, fortunate enough to sort of fall into the security industry right out of college. I took there was a leadership rotational program with one of the national integrators. And that's how I started. Started with that company. I spent about 13 years in the security integration side of the business, and working for nationals and also a regional integrator.
Was that always in sales, or did you dabble on the technical side?
Yeah,
Considering your background.
Yeah, no, I actually was always in account management and sales and business development. So that was, that's sort of the path that I've always been on. And, I worked for.
Let that be a lesson to you kids watching out there. You go to school for something super technical, like being an engineer, you get your degree, and then you go into sales. Secret. That's where all the money is. Go ahead, Ty.
Honestly, I mean, I feel like I get to use some of that technical background in what we do today.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's actually worked out. It's been a great, and it's obviously a really great industry to be in. A ton of opportunity. So, never look back on that move and think otherwise.
Sure. Now you spent 13 years in integration. How do you make the leap from integrator to manufacturer? Like, how do you end up here at Genetec?
Yeah, so I'd worked for a few different national integrators and then a regional integrator, and we actually sold that regional integration company to one of those large nationals. Mm-hmm. After the acquisition, I helped transition a lot of the accounts over, and I knew it was kind of ready to explore new horizons and try out a different part of the industry. And I'd always been impressed by Genetec kind of from afar. I love the way the organization was. The product obviously is a great product. And as soon as the opportunity arose, I just jumped at it.
Yeah, I kind of have a similar story. I was working for a camera manufacturer. I mentioned before I used to work for Sony, and I actually remember several years ago, and this just goes to show how small the security industry is. We all kind of joke about that, but do you remember Las Vegas? It was ISC West, God knows what year it was. It was probably 2014 or 2015, sitting at the Rum Bar at the Mirage.
Yep.
Ty was working for an integrator. I was working for Sony, and we were doing an event. And the company that Ty was working for at the time was actually a good customer of Sony's. And we were shooting the stuff, as it were. And here we are. Fast forward 2020, and now we're working together. So always be nice to everybody you encounter in the security industry, because you never know if you're going to be working with them or working for them at some point.
Very true statement.
Yeah,
very
absolutely. And very similar to you, like I was working for Sony. Sony was going also through a bit of a transition at that point. They were, this was just before the Bosch merger, acquisition, whatever that thing ended up being. And I got an opportunity to come work for Genetec. And it was one of those things that was like, I can't, if I was going to leave Sony, it wasn't going to be to go work for another camera manufacturer unless there was something really compelling about that. And then when the opportunity for Genetec came along, I'm like, man, these guys are leaders in this space, and it goes way beyond just VMS, right? I didn't want to go work for some VMS player either. And this is like, it has broadened my horizons in ways that I never thought was possible.
I couldn't have said it better. I mean, that was a big reason why I wanted to go to Genetec, because as an integrator, I was used to selling the entire solution. So I didn't want to go somewhere where I was selling a widget or a commodity or just a small piece of the solution. I wanted to be, working somewhere where I could help customers shape the entire solution.
Right.
Right. And obviously we can do that at Genetec because the product is so expansive.
Yeah, absolutely. He said expansive, not expensive. Okay, let's expansive. It's big. It can be expensive. But that's a fantastic segue. So you're now at Genetec. You're a business development manager. I think this is one of the things that people get confused about, even at my level. I'm like, what do these guys do all day? So, what is a business development manager, and like, what is the role of a business development manager?
Yeah, so business development managers, I guess, is something that we've started to see more often within the security industry over the last, 5+ years. And Genetec's taken it to even, sort of a larger level than that, where, or I guess a different level, where we verticalize the effort. So instead of being a business development manager across the board and across maybe a huge region, we've verticalized it and put, sub-regions around it. So allows us to get very deep and sort of intimate with a lot of these markets and customers to find out what makes them tick, right? What makes these customers tick? What are some of the regulations, some of the regulatory bodies that make their make them do certain things, right? And understanding how that fits into Genetec and how we can bring that back to lead them back to our product portfolio.
So when you're talking about a customer, like for me, when I talk about a customer, I'm thinking my systems integration partners. When you're talking about a customer, you're talking more about the end user, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's a good distinction. It's I'm working directly with the end user, much like I did when I was, as a security integrator. So I'm still working directly with the end user, and almost acting as the liaison with that end user. It's generally a very long sales cycle.
Right.
It can be,
Sure.
Multiple years sometimes, and over the course of those years, you become almost like a consultant for that end user, and you're working very closely with them. They may want to stand up a proof of concept, and you work through that process. They may want to develop some type of custom solution to tie into some systems that they already have. And through that whole process, you're just sort of facilitating the whole the whole relationship.
Right, and I think an important distinction is also, though, that while your customer is the end user, that doesn't mean that Genetec is selling to the end user. And I think that's very important, because a lot of our systems integrators will see that a business development manager is speaking directly to an end user, and their hankles go up, and they're like, "Oh, you're going to sell them direct? I know it." And it's like, no, because part of the business development manager's mandate is to go out, find those opportunities, and then bring them back to the channel. So can you speak about that a little bit? Like, what's your relationship like with even the systems integration partners?
Yeah, that's a really good point that you make. I mean, it's important to note that we obviously don't sell anything directly to the end user. It's more about developing the demand, and we don't solely rely on the sales channel to develop that demand and make sure that our customers are aware of new products and offerings, right? That's a big part of my role and my job, is to make sure that these customers understand and know about new things that Genetec is developing and innovations that we're coming up with. So as we bring that back through the channel, obviously, we're working very closely with the integrators, and not so much as say you are as an RSM, but I'm working with certain integrators here and there that are involved with these end users, right? That are taking care of these end users. So definitely having a close relationship and good communication between the business development side and the security integrator is crucial.
Yeah, and it's something that Matt brought up in my interview with him. I asked him what your really good Genetec integrators, how they're different than some of the ones that aren't as good of a Genetec integrator. In other words, they're not doing as much business. And his answer was, the ones at the top are laser focused on Genetec, and those tend to be the channel partners that we don't have to worry about them not understanding the product or not knowing all the new stuff and the tips and tricks, because they're laser focused. But the truth is, the vast majority of systems integrators are not laser focused. They're focused but not laser focused. So they may have some other stuff in their portfolio that they sell that prohibits them from having the deep product knowledge that we have. So when Ty goes out, or when Ty says, we're building demand with end users, that's because we're making sure that the end user knows every little bit and piece that fits into the Genetec puzzle to make them as operationally efficient as possible. Not to say that some integrators can't do that, because there are some that can, but let's call it like it is. Not every integrator is laser focused on selling Genetec only. They have other products in their bags of tricks, and that prohibits them from having as broad and deep of a knowledge as somebody like a Ty would have. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. I mean, we just want to make sure that the customers, the end users, know what's available to them, and especially when it comes to brand new products that the integrator may have been made aware of, but they don't know it as in depth as we do. So we want to make sure that the end user realizes, hey, here's a cool new innovation that might help you.
Right.
And that's really just going to be a win-win for everybody. It's going to be a win for the end user, a win for us, and a win for the integrator, because all that revenue is going to come back through them.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good segue into so we talk about talking to the end users. Who's your end user? So as you can see down at the bottom, we've got Ty's. It's right there. If I can get, there we go, right down there. Ty is the business development manager for B&I. What is that? What is a B&I?
Yeah, so buildings and industrials. I mean, when I first came to Genetec, I was like, what do you mean? Everything's a building. So buildings and industrials is it's a fairly broad market, and there's sub-verticals within buildings and industrials. You've got oil and gas, you've got utilities, you've got manufacturing and industrial, you've got healthcare, you've got food, cosmetics, chemicals, and pharma, and you've got technology, media, and telecom. So there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
But really, to sort of simplify that, it's a lot of regulated markets. So it's markets that have heavy regulation, either from a state or federal level, that there are mandates that they need to maintain compliances with.
Right. Yeah. We work together quite a bit because in the state of New Jersey, there's a lot of pharmaceuticals, there's a lot of like food distribution, food manufacturing, stuff like that, and very, very heavily regulated markets where they rely on Genetec's capability to do like really robust reporting, and sort of like that consolidated, unified approach to security fits really well in a regulated space because everything's in one platform. So it makes reporting to those outside regulated regulators much easier.
Yeah, I think that was the first time I've heard you refer to New Jersey not as the great state of New Jersey.
It is the great state of New Jersey. So we kind of touched on it, but your customers are in those regulated spaces. So large telecom companies, large pharmaceutical companies, and you need to not be an expert necessarily in the individual end user's business, but sort of like this broad approach, but I would say more focused than, let's say, the business development manager for retail, right? So retail is obviously very different than B&I or a regulated market. And I think that was sort of the reason why they separated them by vertical market. Is that right?
Yeah. We try to get as knowledgeable about that customer's business as they are. I mean, we really want to understand what drives them, what makes them tick. So, in the utility space, they're heavily governed by NERC SIP requirements, right? So we want to fully understand that, and then understand how that, parlays back to Genetec.
Right.
So, I wouldn't quite say it that we're getting a broad understanding across this vertical. We're trying to get really focused on specific needs within that vertical, and figure out how we can leverage that.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So what is your territory?
Territory for us, we call the Northeast. It's Maine down to West Virginia and Delaware. That's sort of the southern border of the region.
And like, just in terms of how how you fit that into your schedule. So coronavirus notwithstanding, a regular week for a business development manager, what does that look like?
Yeah. So even though it's Maine down to West Virginia and Delaware, I really spend a lot of my time in the major cities of those, that region. So I'm spending a lot of time in New York City, New Jersey. I'm spending time in Boston and Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Those are sort of the main hubs that I'm spending most of my time. And generally I'll have, say like a trip to Pittsburgh, and I'll have, a few meetings planned with end users out there. I'll have, maybe a meeting or two with a specialized integrator out there. Maybe we're trying to, inform end users and integrators about a new product that we just released that fits well into my vertical. So it's sort of a combination. I'm not just only working with end users. I will work with integrators here and there.
Sure.
And then even consultants, right? So consultants in the Northeast. Trying to help make sure that we're in sync on end users and projects, and then our technology partners. So there's certain technology partners, again, that lend themselves very well to my vertical, and I'm working closely with those tech partners, to make sure that we're assisting each other any way we can in different opportunities and making sure everybody wins.
Ty is doing a really good job of holding back from saying the words Medico XT, and I know he wants to. There's going to be a future video for that, so I'll put a card up here so you can click on that, because he's got a lot to say about Medico XT, and I have a lot to hear and a lot to learn, and so do you. One of those points that you made is extremely critical, because people get this idea that business development manager, B&I, you're focused on regulated markets, but you're working across the Genetec ecosystem, right? So it's not, you're working with me, the regional sales manager, but also the business development manager for A&E and consultants, and you're leveraging all of the different product groups inside of Genetec and even those outside of Genetec that are ecosystem partners of ours. So as a business development manager, what it sounds like is you're almost playing the role of a quarterback to some extent. You're marshaling resources as appropriate for your specific end user customers. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I guess you could phrase it that way. I almost think of the regional sales manager as the quarterback of their region, right? Sure. So you're the quarterback to make sure everything is business is running smoothly within your region. The channel is sound, and everybody's happy, right? So in my world, I guess you could say I'm the quarterback of buildings and industrials in the Northeast, right? So making sure that we're working closely with our tech partners and consultants, and we're targeting the right end users, and we're working closely with those end users, pulling in the right resources from sales engineering or channel sales, and
sure,
or custom solutions. So yeah, I guess you could say that.
Well, and I think that it's also important to point out that when you're done, the fact is, with an end user, I don't think you're ever done, right? So once you've developed that relationship and you see that opportunity flow through that process and get to the point of sale, it's not like you're stepping off and saying, okay, you're in good hands now, I'm out. You tend to develop that relationship and you stick with it.
I tell people I basically develop a friendship with a lot of these customers. So it goes much beyond just, hey, they chose Genetec and we're now working with that customer. It's a friendship where, I'm there for that end user if they need something, and they know they can rely on me and count on me. And I think that's one of the things, it's somewhat unique about Genetec that people don't realize, that we develop a pretty strong relationship with the end user. To the point where we even have put together user groups, right? So we've got regional user groups that we hold a couple times a year, and then we hold one global large end user group once a year, it's an awesome event. But yeah, it's something that's pretty unique about Genetec. I feel like we do a really good job of developing those strong relationships with our end users, and yeah, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to come to Genetec, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was going to be one of the questions that I was going to ask, and I was hoping you were going to bring that up, because Ty and his group are doing a phenomenal job of bringing all the end users together, folks that wouldn't necessarily communicate but are all in the same general line of work. So you might have a large telephone company sitting right next to a large water authority, sitting right next to a large transportation authority, all in the same room, all of them using Genetec in very different ways, but also finding synergies. Oh, you're doing that, or you're running this report, I didn't know about that. Can you talk more about those end user groups?
Yeah, it's exactly what you just described. I mean, it's a following, right? It's a following for Genetec. The people that are interested and passionate about Genetec and using the product, but want to network with their peers. They want to collaborate. They want to learn about best practices within Genetec, and it's all that. These groups are not a Genetec commercial, right? So it's not a Genetec sales pitch. It's really, we facilitate bringing these end users together. We moderate, but we kind of step back, and it's really interesting to see, the collaboration between the different end users, like you said, across maybe completely different industries, but working together and have similar challenges maybe, and solving that, with a solution that they found out about at the user group.
Yeah, absolutely. Those user groups are incredibly popular, and a lot of really good, useful information comes out of them. And it's interesting to just kind of sit there as a fly on the wall and listen to how the users, because as a regional sales manager and as a business development manager, when we go and we talk to an end user, we're telling them about certain features and functions. It's a very different thing to see how they're actually using them. So those user groups are phenomenal. I wish we had time to do them more often. What's the normal schedule looking like these days?
We were actually supposed to have another one in March or April. Obviously, that got set back with the current state of affairs here. But probably 2 to 3 a year on a regional schedule, and then that one large global Connect event that we have with all of our end users across the globe.
Sure.
So yeah, it's like you said, and this isn't anything specific to Genetec or the security industry. These user groups exist everywhere.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
If you think about just people that are passionate about fitness, right? You've got Peloton, and you've got Orange Theory, and you've got all CrossFit. My direct manager, Greg Kemper, I mean, he's very passionate about barbecue, right? So, you've got the green egg community and all the people that love to talk about the green egg and different ways to smoke meat. So it's across every industry, and I think it's a really important part of what we're doing to expose our end users to their peers, and just to make sure they have a really good understanding of what's available to them and how to use the product.
Yeah,
they've
absolutely.
already tested the product, so now what are different ways to use it?
Yep, and learn from them. So we usually have some folks from the various product groups, like from research and development, in those end user groups as well, so that they can kind of hear how these people are using the software, and then take that back to Montreal to build new features and new functions. So it's a symbiotic relationship.
100%. Yeah.
I am going to need to talk to Greg Kemper, because my last brisket came out awful. And it was devastating, because I was going to make a pastrami, and I cured it for like 7 days, and I put it on the egg, and I smoked it for what I thought was the right period of time, and I think I wrapped it wrong or something, because it came out dry as a bone. And it was like for Super Bowl Sunday too. I was really upset.
He competes in competition, so I'm sure he's got a few tricks up his sleeve to share with you.
Greg Kemper, if you're watching, give me a call, please. I need your help. So just transitioning a little bit, what is your favorite feature in Security Center? Like what is the thing, or not even in Security Center, like the feature that Genetec offers that you like the most?
I'd probably have to say our RSA plugin. Okay. I think that our ability to take a radar sensor with our mapping capabilities, with PTZ camera functionality, and tie all that together to provide perimeter protection is nobody else is really doing anything like it in the industry. So it's a really cool feature that we have. I feel like we don't talk about it enough. And then I guess if you can give me two, sure. I also think that our capabilities with autonomous drones and the ability to integrate with those.
Okay.
I think probably the coolest thing that we're doing. So yeah, I'd say RSA and RSA, by the way, stands for Restricted Security Area. So RSA and then the ability to integrate with autonomous drones.
Now I think I know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Can you leverage autonomous drones with RSA? Like if somebody breaches your area, could you launch a drone and go investigate?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's part of the unified platform. So if you have an event that comes in from RSA, you could use that through threat levels to trigger, dispatching a drone. So, really cool way to bring the whole ecosystem together.
I need that for my house. Not that I live in a bad area, but it just sounds like really badass. So what's like your biggest pet peeve? Not necessarily in the security, not necessarily at Genetec, because Genetec is perfect, and we all know this. Everybody that is watching is like, how could you pick something about Genetec that you'd be upset about? But what, like industry-wide, like what is that thing that's like, oh man, I wish this. I wish people wouldn't do that. Like what is the thing that really kind of grinds your gears, to take a phrase from another famous New Englander?
Pet peeve. If you could tell me where the word pet peeve comes from, then
I'll throw a graphic down here. I'll look it up on Urban Dictionary or something.
What a weird phrase.
I know.
But yeah, honestly, I don't know. I think this is kind of trivial, and it's not specific to Genetec or the security industry. I've never understood why people don't include a signature on their emails. Right? It's like the simplest thing to do. It's automated. It's an automated feature. It's almost like people don't want anyone to know how to get a hold of them. So obviously in sales you can't do that. But I've never understood why people don't include a signature on their emails.
There are two groups of people in this world, Ty. There are those who put all their contact information in their signature, and there are those that don't. And we if you're one of those people that don't, just know that the people that do have very specific feelings about you. Well, because I couldn't agree with you more. Nothing's worse than, and I'll take the blame for this because I know people down below in the comments are going to be like, well, you should have everybody's contact information saved, shouldn't you? Yes, you're right. I probably should. There are probably two other people in this world, the people that save everybody's contact information, the people that don't. So I'm one of those people that is not always super rigid about putting in everybody's contact info. I try, please. But you have those situations where you need to just real quick search through your archive folder and look for that person. It's like they just put like their first name. Can you give me a phone number? Can you give me something?
I got to get a hold of you. How do I do it?
Yeah, please. Right? Help me. Help me help you. Yeah. That's a good one. I like that one. So please, make sure you create a signature. And if you need help doing that, Ty's email address is down below there. Email Ty. Make sure you include your signature line, or at least your contact information. He'll call you and show you how to set it up in Outlook.
I promise you it'll take us all of 7 seconds to set it up.
It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to have your phone number, please. So moving out of the security industry, and to wrap this thing up, I'm curious, we've all been in quarantine for Lord knows, I don't know, what is this, day 9,000? I've lost track at this point. There have been several times, even this week, what's today, February 23rd? If you ask me right now if it's Wednesday or Thursday, I don't think I could give you an answer. Once this whole thing is over, what are you looking forward to doing? Where's the first place that you're going?
Well, I'd probably go outside with my kids and go to the park or the playground, man. They've been cooped up. Yes. Just getting outside will feel really good for them. Outside of that, no pun intended, my family and I have been trying to plan a trip to Nashville. Love Nashville. And, hoping we can do that this spring or summer. So
sure, yeah.
I don't know if it'll happen, but we'll see.
That's a good one. It's very similar for me. So there's this local ice cream shop. I'll give them a free plug here. It's called TK's Ice Cream in the New Egypt area of New Jersey. It's about a 20-minute drive for me, and I was devastated. So like whenever I have to go down to Atlantic City, I pass by it, and in the wintertime, they always have a sign out front that says, "Oh, we'll be reopened April whatever." So I took the family on a drive just to kind of, get out of the house and get some fresh air. And we drove by TK's just to see when they might reopen. It was like their sign was really ominous. It was like, "We don't know when we'll be back. Check back again soon." I'm like, oh, I just want an ice cream cone, please.
You just want the light at the end of the tunnel, and they can't give it to you.
That's it. And then aside from that, we usually go on a family trip to, of all places, Delaware. We stay at the Dogfish Inn, which is just like this amazing little boutique hotel in Lewis, and we love it. And it's great for kids and whatnot. And again, who knows when we'll be able to go? But my deposit is there. If they reopen this thing in the summertime, that's where I'm going. That's where you'll find me. Go look for me in Lewis, Delaware. Lewis spelled, by the way, Lewes. And for like non-Delaware people, you would say lose, but then they'd be very quick to correct you. The other thing that they'll be quick to correct you on is the pronunciation of the word Newark. So in Jersey, it's Newark, and it's like it's all one, no syllables.
One syllable.
That's
yeah.
right, Newark.
Sure.
In Delaware, it's Newark. Like, not only is there two syllables, but it's like Newark. So I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting outside, man.
Yeah, me too.
And honestly, you probably already know this about me, but I'm a glasses half full kind of guy.
Yes,
I'm always
very
looking
optimistic.
for, the silver lining and things. And I think with this whole process, I've been able to stay at home and be home with the family, and that's been really huge for me. I've loved it. Because like I said, on a normal schedule, I'm traveling pretty much every week.
Yeah.
So it's been, I've really cherished it, and, glad to be able to spend some time at home for a change. So, once this is over, we'll want to get outside and do everything, like everyone else. But we've actually enjoyed being home.
Yeah, us too. Yeah, I just read an article today. It was like 1 out of 8 people surveyed says that like they can't stand their spouse right now. I'm not in that group, and I'm happy to say that because it could be very uncomfortable if that were the case. I'm very lucky.
I'm guessing it's a little bit higher than 1 out of 8, but
that's what. Yeah. You definitely have those people like, yeah, I'm happy, sure. And actually, I'm kind of curious because you said you're constantly traveling during the week and during the normal business cycle. What's your favorite mode of transportation?
Train. I love the train. I love Amtrak, man. It's because I can get stuff done. The seats are comfortable. You got room to put your computer down. You're not squeezed into a little tiny, airplane seat. Yep. And it's comfortable. It's easy. You don't have to go through a lot to get on and off from a security perspective.
Yeah, true.
Which I guess is good or bad, but I would say train. I can be productive on that train for sure.
You sure can. The cell reception is always a little spotty going through certain areas, but that's the time you get up and you go to the bar car.
That's right. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, it helps. Last thing, and then I'll let you go. I certainly appreciate your time and want to be respectful of it. So how are you actually spending your time in quarantine? I'm curious because, like, I'm one of these guys that I can't sit still. I always have to be doing something, which is sort of where this whole concept was born out of. And then I'm attempting to learn to play piano at the same time. Yeah, so I got Simply Piano, and I'm trying that out on my kid's tiny 44-key keyboard. So you should see me hunched over it. It's quite an interesting sight. And I'm learning, and it's pretty cool. What are you doing in quarantine?
I'm not really as talented as you, Phil.
Oh,
so
stop it.
I guess I haven't really developed a new hobby or a skill. work's been insane. It's been very, very busy. Kind of, didn't anticipate that, but very busy. So outside of work, I mean, I've got 2 little kids. They occupy a lot of my time, just like you have 2 kids. So spending time with the family and, trying to keep everybody sane, and no new skill for me, man.
Well, and you know what? I think that, honestly, I think that's enough. And I am probably doing too much. Like I bought Doom Eternal and I wanted to play that, and I started playing it, and then I stopped and learning the piano, but then this thing took over and it's gotten really popular, so that's kind of gone by the wayside. But at the same time, I'm super concerned that like the time, and this is going to sound really weird, but that the time's going by too fast. When again in our lifetime are we going to have this like unknown window where we're just going to be able to get really close to our families and to our kids? So I'm certainly sympathetic to what you're saying, and I've been trying to, like, I even went so far as to, like, we have a pool in our backyard, and by the way, it was 32 degrees last night. It's freezing here in New Jersey. Like, but they're so excited about the pool. I wanted to do something nice for them, so we opened the pool a little bit early, but I want to be able to spend as much time with them as possible now.
Yeah, a lot of projects around the house. I think at the end of this, everybody's going to have repainted every room in their house, and I've been organizing the basement, which I never thought I would do.
Yes.
Finding stuff to do and get done and try to be productive.
Well, Tmiller, I think you've said it all. Thank you so much for your time. If you have an opportunity that you'd like to bring us into, and you happen to be an end user in the buildings and industrial vertical, if you're in a regulated market and you want to learn more about Genetec, please reach out to Tmiller. All of his contact information is right underneath his lovely face there, and I've also linked it down below to his LinkedIn profile, and all of his contact information will be there. Ty, any parting words?
Just thanks for having me, man. This is I really appreciate it. This is pretty cool. I think it's awesome what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
A new skill that you've been able to refine besides piano is your own podcast series. So
what's that famous saying? Necessity is the mother of all invention, or something like that, right? It had to be done, and I got nothing but time.
I love it. It's great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks again, Ty. And again, if you like this, or if you have any more questions for Ty, please leave a comment down below. Make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe to receive more content like this. We'll see you on the next one.